Let's get into BoJack.
Oh boy.
So back in the 90s,
he was in a very
TV show.
Yes. So this season, if you don't know much about BoJack, we talked about it around this time last year.
The first two seasons,
because kind of nobody talked about the first season. Apparently, some people did watch it, but it was a big sleeper hit because it was impossible to get what the show is doing immediately because it was a total sucker punch. It started off as just kind of like, here's a show about an actor who's a jerk, and then it became this really deep introspective into both the skullduggery of Hollywood business practices and also a really, really brutal account of what it's like to be a chronically, terminally depressed adult and how that affects your life and the lives of people around you and everything like that. It's the kind of thing that could never exist before Netflix.
Nope.
For a lot of reasons. Like I can't imagine any network even listening to a pitch after they see the concept art.
Nope. And that's why they did a really crazy meta joke about it this season.
Yeah, a lot of meta jokes. So we're just going to get right into it then. This season picks up where the last one left off. BoJack's dream project that he wasn't there for. Secretariat it finishes production and is screened in like select theaters, like early advanced screenings. And the driving main plot of this season is about his Oscar campaign trail. About he made an Oscar movie, so this is him, trying to actually campaign for an Oscar, which is apparently a whole thing you don't think about. The whole awards season campaign because, from our perspective, it sucks.
Yeah. But you have to screen it at a bunch of different film festivals and get the reviews and schmooze with the right people who could potentially vote in the Academy.
You gotta suck a lot of old white dick.
Essentially, yes. And, apparently there are people whose whole job is to get people nominated for Oscars.
That is a character who we did see at the last episode of Season 2, but is a major character this time around. Anna Spanakopita?
Yeah.
Yeah.
His PR manager, played by Angela Bassett.
Right.
Who is a big deal in live action stuff. Which, of course, following the trend of last season, all the actors here are screen actors, which is very apt considering what this show is fundamentally about.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's talk about impressions. What do you guys think of this season?
I thought it was good, as always. It didn't stand out too much compared to other seasons until, I guess, the very, very end. I did find it a little less funny than other seasons, personally.
I agree. There were a lot of... every episode had one or two, laugh out loud moments for me where I was literally like, and I don't know, maybe I'm just getting used to it. Maybe the novelty of BoJack is wearing.
I don't know. I remember
still a solid show.
There were episodes in the previous two seasons where it was just, painful laughter, and I think a big part of that is because Todd is only given one major project this season, and he also has a lot of character development this season, as opposed to previous seasons where he was mostly the dude that went on hilarious schemes that brought the laughter.
Yeah. Hilarious unprompted schemes that would then, serve to have everything come together at the end of the episode.
He had some of the funniest shit when he tried to build Toddland.
He tried to build Disneyland. That is the best thing he's ever done. And I don't feel like there is a conceptual joke in this season that is that strong.
When he went on that escapade with Becca, the chicken.
Yeah.
God, when he was doing a fucking 2-date switcheroo thing in prison with the Latin kings and the neo-Nazis. He had so many great bits. And this season, he mostly has the one thing that he's doing, which is working for that, what's it called? The share service?
Abracadabra.
Abracadabra.
Abracadabra. Yeah.
Abracadabra.
Which is a pretty interesting thing because,
funny.
first of all, It isn't as funny, no, but it is a very interesting thing because it's like, it's actually an amazing idea. The original premise for Cadabra is amazing and like something that's very necessary. And the idea of like all this weird feedback that you would get in a new media company like that would force it to be ruined.
Yeah.
In order to actually have a clientele.
And the other thing that Todd is doing is pursuing something of a relationship or revisiting an old relationship, which isn't something he's ever really got to do before.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get back into that, but yeah,
that's why I think it's not as funny.
The series does suffer. The season does suffer from a downsizing of Todd. I mean, actually, no. I mean, and even then, like a lot of the best jokes were still Todd. Like he goes to get ice in the hotel, and immediately gets lost, and then starts doing the like hard in New York dude bullshit.
Yeah.
No, I mean he still is the funny guy, but he doesn't have as much opportunities. Because he's not getting dragged around everywhere like he used to after a certain point, because he's busy. I don't know, that's just how I felt.
I feel like Mr. Peanut Butter had more moments than Todd this season.
Yeah, I think so.
Mr. Peanut Butter was all over the place this season. I like
Mr. Peanut Butter had that hilarious bit where he's trying to get his phone.
Yeah.
Fucking, like, that whole scene could have just been...
Instead we got to hear his full theme song.
Yeah.
Like, that scene was ridiculous. I loved it.
His theme song fucking sucks. It's amazing. Tooch, what was your impression?
I mean, it was really solid. I liked it. I look forward to next season. But like when it sort of ended on that whole clearly setting up next season, like the very end there, I just sort of thought like if this show doesn't like wrap up, I'm gonna not like it anymore. Because
me too, exactly.
And like I only used to get it. Like this is the first time I've gotten this with an animated series, because this is the first time an animated series has gotten like as dramatic as like live action TV dramas do. My always my problem with like long running live action drama shows is every season they tease you with an ending and a happily ever after, and then it's like, nope, next season we gotta make them sad again, shut down every fucking thing, destroy their life all over again. And it's like, then what did I just watch? Why did I bother?
Well, here's the thing with this show. Like, I totally agree. I feel like...
As do I.
I feel like 5 seasons maximum, and even that's pushing it. I feel like they can wrap it up next season. And I do also agree with you about a lot of live action stuff and why I don't find that particularly attractive all the time. But with this show, part of that whole setup and why it kind of works is because that's sort of the cyclical nature of these characters, like... problems.
Oh yeah, totally.
Like that's BoJack's whole deal, is that he like thinks everything's okay and then he fucks it up again. Like that's just the cycle.
I'm not even saying that I want BoJack necessarily to end happily. I probably don't. That's probably bad. But I want it to end.
Yeah. I want it to reach a satisfying conclusion of some kind of catharsis, even though the show has said that catharsis is a lie and isn't real. But some kind of, like, place where we can leave this
honest
story.
Like, I mean, I guess if the final episode ended with him fucking dead, then, like, I would have been like, well, that was BoJack. That was a pretty solid 3-season series, and I would recommend it to everybody. Like, I wouldn't care.
You see, I have a couple of thoughts on this. One thing that I heard at a Anime Con panel, it was a Q&A with Crispin Freeman, and I walked in while he was answering this question. He's apparently homie, like, loves to study mythology and everything.
Oh, I was there.
Yeah, you were there. And what he mentioned is that stories don't, and I don't know, I want to say I don't 100% agree with this. But he says stories don't really have meanings until they have a conclusion. I think he was talking about Norse mythology and how it's all fatalistic, and the whole thing is about, like, what happens at the end.
Yeah.
What happens when the world ends. And I feel...
Well, a lot of mythological stories are like that because they're trying to explain a phenomenon to you.
And I feel like this is definitely a show where if it were to keep dragging on with the way that this show builds tension and its characters develop, it needs to conclude in some way or it's going to dilute everything it's done.
Yeah. Exactly. You won't want to watch BoJack's story anymore. And, like, is he a likable character? That's up for debate, but he's a very watchable
He's
character.
a very compelling character. But the thing is that, like, we can only see him catastrophically fuck up so many times before it loses all impact.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if there's any criticism to be levied at this season, I think it might be that is that this motherfucker is not getting any better and is getting worse. But again, that is the character.
That is the character.
And it's not criticism that I want to levy, but I can
like
see where someone's coming from.
they tried to alleviate that with the ending, which seems to imply a more of a reset than the last 2 seasons' endings, which seem to just leave off where it began, more or less, whereas this one's like, no, things can't go back to the way they used to be at this point. They just can't. The
other thought that I had is that the continuation of this series, as it is with so much stuff, I don't know the authorial intent here. I don't know what like Raphael Bob-Waksberg and Lisa Hannawalt and everyone else who works on the show, at one point they would have liked to conclude it. But I do know that when studios got a successful property on their hands, they don't want it to end while people are still enjoying it.
Right.
That back and forth has defined the history of all serialized television, especially dramas, forever. It's something like after my dad watched Breaking Bad, he read a lot about Vince Gilligan and his process making the show, which I'm sure is very interesting. And one thing he said, or one thing that the critical analysis he was reading said, is that it's so rare that a show gets to end when it intends.
Yep.
It's either canceled before it can reach its conclusion, or it's dragged out by the network too long, and then the whole thing is diluted. This is something we talked about with Gravity Falls. Yeah. How, he hasn't talked about it, I assume, out of a desire to maintain a civil relationship with Disney and with the industry.
Oh, yeah.
But I bet he was fighting them tooth and nail every fucking day to be able to end the show where he wanted to.
Probably, yeah.
And to not drag it out.
I mean, that's what we see with so many of the cartoons. I mean, and it's not exclusive to adult dramas, even animated shows.
We've talked about this with Adventure Time. How after the end of season 6, we were like, man, one more season, please. And now with the way the season 7 is going, I could handle plenty more Adventure Time. I'm not going to name a number, but I no longer feel like the series needs to wrap up.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the whole crew is just in a much brighter place now.
Yeah.
They were clearly having a bad year.
Yeah, whenever
they made season 6.
It might have just been growing pains, trying to find that balance now between this heavy story they've got going with the lighthearted stuff that got people interested in Adventure Time in the first place. I think they finally found the middle ground.
They did. They've actually been at the best place in that middle ground since maybe season 4.
Yeah.
The BoJack. Now, one thing is, because of the way the BoJack approaches film and television production, I wouldn't be surprised if some meta text about the show being dragged out longer than necessary becomes part of the next season.
That'd be all right.
I don't doubt it at all. Netflix seems to be letting them do whatever the heck they want.
Yeah.
And they are doing whatever the heck they want. So I'm 100% sure that they will. Because, Horsing Around did that, right? Because of course it did.
My impression of the season was largely the same as yours. I had some of the same criticisms, I definitely think that it needs to start moving towards an ending point next season, or else we're going to have a problem. But it was very, very good. It was everything. It was super solid. Again, like Nina, I wasn't as wowed this time, partially because I knew what to expect.
Partially.
There were still moments where I'm like, God damn. What? Damn. But I expected to have moments where I said, God damn, at the screen.
Well, one thing that I can say about this season is it definitely went down a lot easier than the previous 2. I watched this over the course of 3 days, and the day in the middle, I didn't watch any of it. So I watched half of it on Tuesday and the other half of it on Thursday. Our youngest sister watched the whole damn thing in a day.
Wow.
And having watched it, I can see how she did that, because it really just kind of one episode kind of slides into the other one.
Yeah, this was a really easy watch.
It's not as painful to watch as previous seasons, where you really just wanted to stop and not do anything for a while.
When BoJack went on that bender and ended up in Ohio and accidentally and also on purpose ran into his old
Penny.
Flames Penny. I did have to get up and pace around my room a couple times until I could sit back down and watch it. That was the thing.
But the other thing, that was the penultimate episode. Just like, well, fuck, we gotta wrap this up. Back to our other sister. You say that, Nina? She watched season 1 and half of season 2 in a day. I saw her on her phone. It's like, oh, you're watching BoJack. Yeah, I just started today. Wait a minute, that's Kelsey. What? How did you do that? Like, Nina, I remember when you were watching, you got to the episode of the Spyglass, and you're like, guys, I don't know if I could do this.
Yeah, no, last summer when I had to watch the original 2 seasons, I was like, this is so hard to do. And partly it's because where I was in my life at the time, I was actually pretty fucking lonely, but like, I don't know, something about this season I felt went down easier, and I don't know, again, if it's whether because I'm used to it at this point, I know what to expect. Like, I remember getting to a point where I was like halfway through the season, and I'm like, nothing super duper ooper bad has happened yet. Like, I feel kind of safe.
Like, it didn't go as hard. It definitely objectively didn't go as hard. Maybe hard stuff happened, but also I felt like a lot of the repercussions of the stuff that people fucked up in the show didn't have that long lasting of consequence.
I mean, nothing. I feel like nothing touches the Tasuka, New Mexico episode still, and like how bad it gets. Although, again, this season's penultimate episode, That's Too Much, Man, that's when it gets bad.
I mean, that title is the best title. Like,
and I think that was actually my favorite episode of the season.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people would cite episode 4, Fish Out of Water, which obviously we're going to talk about. But That's Too Much, Man, and it had a lot of stuff for me. It's when it gets really bad, which is what I do tune into this show for. And it revisits the thing they did in season 1 of the psychedelic nightmare, but never retraced its steps. And I guess psychedelic nightmares really do it for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when things got very meta and very strange. There was character stuff. There was just fun narrative experiments going on, like with the idea of telling a story with a character who can't remember what's going on, both for comedic value and for tragic value. I did think it was a very well done thing.
Yeah.
And it definitely, I would say it was the hardest hitting part of the whole season.
Yeah.
And it did hit very, 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 very hard.
Still, like, I feel like the finale that took place right after it, I felt like it wasn't, I don't know, I felt like people weren't as fucked up about everything that happened in the previous episode before that as they were supposed to be.
I mean, BoJack was, but everybody else by that point in his life...
BoJack wasn't.
Well, I think by that point, everyone else in his life had pretty much left him, right?
Yeah.
That's why he went on that bender in the first place, because he kind of lost everybody. His entire support system, which he had up until this point, was pretty much gone. And, like, everybody else was trying to figure out what they were going to do. Like, there was so much epilogue just crammed into that last episode that I was, like, amazed by how much they fit in there, how much stuff they teased for the next season, how much closure they tried to do for other characters. But I feel like it did hit him very hard, because when he went back to Ethan around, and he had that conversation with the child actress there, and he was trying to be the person that he always knew he should have been, and then realized even if he was a good person in that situation, he still would have been hurting people just by being in that situation, because he knew what the ultimate outcome is of pursuing fame. Yeah. You know, and to me that was the part where he was like, I just can't, everything really did sink in what happened to Sarah Lynn and the tragedy of her life.
I was honestly...
And how he realizes how much of it was his fault.
And how much of it was his fault.
I was legitimately like I was mad at BoJack. I thought in that instant I fucking hated him. I was like, that should have been you. Like, I had that thought. I was like, I was waiting for him to say it, and I don't think he ever really did. I assume he thought it.
He might have. Yeah, like I did hear that a lot this season, where now people are saying, like, is BoJack's... Can we just, like, say that BoJack is a bad person now, like, just an irredeemably awful human being that we don't want anything good to happen to?
I was on that point after Tasuka. After what happened to Tasuka, I'm like, BoJack is irredeemably broken, and he's not a good person.
And I'm in this weird place where it's like, yeah, he's irredeemably broken, he isn't a good person, but for whatever reason, I don't wish bad things upon him.
Because, like, you don't want to... you don't want to admit that, like, someone can be irredeemably broken. You want the narrative that, like, anybody can be saved, and it's hard
I know
to
that
watch
he can't
somebody
be
who can't be
saved. I don't hate him as a character, and I don't...
Oh, you definitely not. That's a whole other thing.
And I don't, like... And I don't even find myself getting that frustrated with him, because it's like, I'm really used to those patterns. I don't know, like... I haven't, like, drawn my line in the sand where I just want everything bad to happen to this guy yet, because I don't think that's what you're supposed to feel.
I mean, with me, it's like, I wish he could be redeemed. Because there are...
I wish he could just go somewhere where he can't hurt other people, where he can be self-destructive and terrible to himself, but not have to drag down other people with him.
Yeah.
I think that's what I want.
The thing is, he has such a social element to his miseries that that's not in his nature.
Yeah.
That was the bit in It's Too Much Man. He calls up Sarah Lynn and is like, do you want to get wasted? They're the only person left, so like, let's just fuck ourselves up.
And I mean, from top to bottom, that episode was so tragic because I went back and I thought about how it opened. And it opened with her trying to pretend she was living this fairy tale life and being happy. And then going out and, you know, being sing-songy and Dr. Seussian about it. And then when she goes out...
She was 9 months sober, is the thing. And the thing is, you know, the second that BoJack produced, you know, offers
But not
her...
even that. That wasn't the first sign. The first sign that she was still terribly miserable was when she goes to the porch to sing to the gardener and all those paparazzi come out.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, that's her life.
Yeah.
Her life is just that misery. And like her trying to like stay calm and not lose all her shit. Like that's the tragedy of that kind of character who's lived their entire life in the limelight since she was a child. I mean, presumably on Horsing Around, she was on the show when she was like, young. She said she was like 3 or whatever. Her parents just put her on the show. And she's like, it should be illegal for people to do that. I didn't get to make any decisions about my life. I want to be an architect. That was so sad. And like, even then when she was saying, oh, I want to be an architect, but I also want to be a super spy at night, and what was the other thing? She had some... Yeah, in the college library, she was telling BoJack about her ridiculous fantasy of what she wanted to be. And at the time, it was played for laughs, but it's like, she is so disconnected from reality or even her childhood self that she's still... Her idea of what she should be is this childhood fantasy. Like this impossible, ridiculous, like, I'm gonna be a super spy librarian, like, craziness. It was, and like, I don't think I've ever heard Christian Shaw playing such a sad character.
Oh no, yeah, this is definitely her most dramatic role.
This is her most dramatic role ever, because and then with the Oscar, and she won the Oscar, and it did affect me very much at the very end of the show. We could talk about other stuff.
Yeah, you know, let's move down the list of the episode. We do see BoJack's old show. We actually see the stuff around it, kind of Tarantino style.
Yeah.
Of the BoJack Horseman show, a show he did in 2007. Which, one thing that I felt was very interesting about this show is, you know, last season we saw, you know, 80s parody, and we saw 90s parody. Or that was the first season, I think. You know, like let's distill down these decades into, you know, over-the-top parody of this time period. This season did that with 2007, which is not by anyone's real, you know, stretch of the imagination that long ago. And the thing about distilling a time period down is that you need distance to do it. If you would have asked me to distill down the pop cultural mainstays of 2007, I would be like, was Lil Wayne then? I don't know. I went to high school in Florida, so I think we were 2 years behind everything. And this show did it. Like,
I was almost in tears of joy. Because if you don't... 2007 was the year I was in 7th grade of middle school.
The worst year the worst grade.
So, I like, watching it, I was just like... and then you realize just how garbage the oddies were. God.
Yeah.
Everyone's fashion was the worst. Blah.
Remember like 10 years ago? People's clothes looked funny and music sounded terrible.
Essentially, and it was so true. And all the jokes, all the little in-jokes, so references to like what TV was on at the time. Like, they must have Googled, like, stuff that came out in 2007. I'm like, oh yeah, everybody was talking about that show, and everyone was talking about that
The Wikipedia
band.
articles for, like, 2007 in film, 2007 in television, 2007 in music.
You know, No Country for Old Men.
And the other one.
There Will Be Blood.
Yeah, the one, I never saw
I'll
either.
drink your milkshake. Everybody's gonna love that joke a year from now.
I never saw either of those movies, and I can't tell them apart. I don't know which one's which.
Well, only one of them is a period piece.
No Country for Old Men is the one with
Tommy Lee
Javier
Jones.
Bardem.
Yeah,
where he plays a serial killer dude with the bad haircut.
With the bowl cut.
And then the other one is about the oil drilling crazy dude in the milkshake.
Okay.
But I haven't thought about that shit since 2007. Not that those aren't good movies or anything, but it's just like, oh, it was like a beautiful distillation.
Oh, fuck. Sopranos.
Oh, yeah, that was the best one.
I was talking to our dad about this, because our dad also watches the show that he's behind on it. And he's like, he's at a point now where he's like, the ending to The Sopranos was fucking stupid.
Of course it was.
It was.
Man, that night in 2007, every dad in the country screamed their brains out at their televisions. Like, there have to have been dads who screamed so loud they puked.
Oh my god.
Because that's what everybody's talking about the day over. The day after, it's like, I thought I sat on my controller. I thought I lost just enough power.
But we also got some development. Like, we got to see sort of like the beginnings of Princess Carolyn and BoJack. We got to see when Diane and Mr. Peanut Butter met, and when he was married to Jessica Biel, who did play herself.
I'm one of the Jessicas. Remember that shit?
Yeah, like Jessica Simpson, Jessica Alba, Jessica Biel. God, I fucking hate 2007.
I mean, now it's the Chris's.
Now it's
Hemsworth, Evans, Pine, and Pratt.
Yeah. And I like how they did a new closing theme for that episode.
Yeah. But I loved BoJack's old nasty agent.
Yeah.
You're telling me she kissed a girl and she liked it? God. Everything.
No Country for Old Men, too long. Title's too long. No one's gonna watch it.
He throws every spec script up into the ceiling fan.
How about this one? There Will Be Blood. No.
There will not be blood. And of course, there's the TV show.
Fuzzy Whiskers.
Cuddly Whiskers.
Cuddly Whiskers.
Yeah, I liked him.
You're confusing Cuddly Whiskers and Meow Meow Fuzzy Face.
Yeah. My bad.
Who was... I'm trying to look up who that was played by, because at first I'm like, that can't be Logan Cunningham, the guy from Bastion, is it?
No.
No, it's another young African-American man who... Oh, wait, no, he's 50. He just looks great.
Yeah, he looks really good. Jeffrey Wright. I love Cuddly Whiskers.
Yeah, he was in, like, the new Bond and Boardwalk Empire, Hunger Games. A bunch of stuff I haven't really seen. Yeah, he was very good.
I love Cuddly Whiskers. I love his timbre. His voice.
Yeah.
He's like an Orson Welles type.
Like, I love how, like, I bet you squeeze him and, like, he'll make, like, a really deep guttural noise, like, he's a cuddly hamster and he has a hamster wheel in his house.
Yeah.
And, like, when they're drinking, he's like BoJack's slamming beers, he's like, on the hamster thing.
That's one thing that this show still gets right. Aminal jokes.
The animal jokes were so on point this season.
Yeah.
They were, like, relentless.
Because there were some grown-ass jokes. Groaner-ass jokes. Like, in the first episode, like, the bit with the airport security is the most basic joke I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It's like, But yeah, the animal stuff is still so good. What was the joke about Krill and Grace? It's like, that show did so much for Krill.
Yeah.
And Jill Pill.
It was Mara Wilson.
Very appropriately cast in multiple ways. Because, Mara Wilson used to be a child actress, and now she lives in New York and is a writer lady. And I was really surprised to see her in this show. I didn't know she was still doing acting. I thought she was very firmly retired.
She was in an episode of Broad City. Because apparently the two of them see her as a childhood hero, despite the fact that Mara Wilson is actually younger than one of the two girls from Broad City. The other one, Abby Jacobson, was in this show as well, as Emily, Todd's old friend and almost girlfriend. So now both Broad City girls have been in it, because Alana Glazer was Penny.
Right. Her weird, sexy relationship with Cuddly Whiskers was pretty delightful for how gross it was.
Yeah.
I like how she's always hanging out at a coffee diner. Yeah. Like, that's just where she lives when she's not doing interpretive
that
theater.
Stupid dog shit play she was doing.
Oh, man. I almost took a class that would teach me how to do that kind of stuff.
Oh, should have.
I wanted to, but I just wasn't in a place to be creative.
Well, that would have been great then.
Yeah, right? No one would have been able to tell. 2007
they were doing jokes about loss, like, so it's purgatory. No.
Another, like, probably the craziest set piece of this season was Whale World.
Yeah, Whale World, where they had Fred Savage come back to do adult Goober, whose name I also can't remember.
Nope.
Yeah, it's like, okay, let's parody, the inherent exploitative nature of strip clubs and all that, and how, like, despite how people can try to own it, like, the economic impetus behind it is undoubtedly sleazy and exploitative from top to bottom. And also Blackfish!
Yeah.
Yeah. Same with, like, SeaWorld, where it's like,
yeah,
you're not rescuing those aminals. You just stole it from the ocean.
You just want to make them do wet stunts.
Yeah. And the fact it was, like, children, like, I love the line where he was, like, explaining, and then your daughter will finally, I mean, it's very complicated, and, like, the line was great itself because it, like, really
daughter will question her role as a woman in a society that commodifies her at the moment she's born.
Yeah, like,
it felt like you're crazy. Why would you even think that?
Felt like I was reading an essay.
And the other bit is like BoJack says shit, and he's like, "Hey, quit it! There's children here."
Well, they're like fucking like wiggling their ass and their butts and their face.
On that note, actually, it's something I wanted to talk about. It's something I envy about this show. Is that this show cusses all the time and has no problem with it, but it keeps fuck in its quiver.
Oh, yeah.
For when it needs it. I think they've only said it 3 times in this show.
Yep.
And I wish I could, like, do that. I can't. Like,
yeah.
I think the first time was actually the end of season 2 where, not Olivia, that's the name of the
no,
actress.
It was season 1 with,
What did I say in season 1?
The dude. It's a Kazaz. With Herb Kazaz.
He says fuck to him?
Yeah. When he tries to come to his house and apologize, and he angrily forgives him and throws him out, and he's like, get the fuck out of my house.
Oh, yeah, he does. And then in season 2, Charlotte was like, if you're not out of my driveway in 10 minutes, I will call the police. And if you ever try to contact me or my family again, I will fucking kill you.
Yeah.
And then they only use it once. They use it twice in the season. Once as a joke when Diane finds out she's pregnant. She goes, motherfucker. And they cut it actually between 2 episodes. Yeah. The next episode picks up with Ucker.
Yeah.
But one of my favorite scenes was in episode 10 of this one, It's You, where BoJack and Todd have their final confrontation of this season, where BoJack admits, because the stress behind it's like, Todd didn't want to nominate him for an Oscar because due to hijinks, it was up to him at the time.
Yeah, which was a hilarious joke, by the way. I really appreciated it.
This scene was there's some great jokes in this that were bookended by utter misery. So, BoJack goes to Todd, like, why didn't you want to nominate me for an Oscar? It's like, because, Mr. Peanut Butter told me everything. He told you everything? What? Yeah, he told you that when I was a kid, I liked to play my butt as a bongo as I got out of the shower. Daylight comes and Todd squeaky clean. It's like, no, but,
Well, he just didn't think that BoJack deserved it. Like,
because
the way that he phrased it to Mr. Peanut Butter was like, he's such a terrible person, but he gets everything he wants.
Yeah. Because there was conflict between them because Emily, got back into his life. He was a great friend of his. And then she left because she and BoJack had sex in a night of, they're both bummed and pissed.
Well, it was because... Well, this is part of Todd's arc. Like, we found out...
Yeah, let's back up a bit.
In the flashback to 2007, we saw Todd with his scene haircut and hanging out with this girl. And they seem to dig each other. And they start dating or whatever, casually. And then she invites him over to her parents' place to try the sex. And Todd is like, I don't know. And he's really, really nervous about it. And at first you're like, yeah, I mean, whatever. Everyone's...
He's a total dork.
He's a dork-a-face. And it's a scary thing. And then hence the whole joke with the Sopranos ending, and it was really hilarious. He repels
down with the film.
Yeah. And then they meet up again, and they're like, wow, this is so great to see each other. And they want to hook up, or she wants to hook up. And he's just like, I don't want to do that. And he feels like really bad about it. And then, while she's all frustrated and sad, she finds BoJack, who's drunk and sad because he went through this whole ordeal at the wedding. What was it? The rehearsal dinner?
It was a rehearsal dinner that he just crashed to have a party and then almost ruined it.
And then almost ruined it
because one of
by saying schmaltzy shit.
Yeah, the bride. It was two brides, but the bride was like, "Do I really love her? Is she really the one?" And his brother's like, I don't fucking know. None of that shit's real. Does she make you happy? Marry her. Don't ever listen to me. I'm the least happy man on earth.
Yeah, and he's like, I just said that because that's what you say. That's what you say at the thing. But anyway, so they're all feeling bad, and then they hook up and have sex, and they, of course, immediately regret it afterwards because that's how BoJack is. Is Diane the only female character he's interacted with that he hasn't had sex with in his life?
Well, I mean, he didn't have sex with Charlotte, but he tried. And he didn't have sex with Penny, but he tried.
And he did try to have sex with Diane, too.
Yeah, he did. There was a time he kissed her on the side of the road, and it was a huge point of contention between them. But yeah, the way he reacts with everybody, he just tries to have sex with everybody. But yeah, so they have sex, and then it's a point of tension between Emily and Todd moving forward, because like Emily feels really bad about it.
Yeah.
And so she leaves the company, the Cabracadabra, because she just feels guilty about it. It's like, something went down with BoJack, and I don't feel comfortable sticking around. And Todd doesn't really know what happened.
No.
The line was like, so I had sex with Emily? You had sex with Emily? I thought you said you knew. No, I thought you just gave her one of your weird monologues about how you're sad all the time.
And it freaked her out.
So then there's this really, really heavy stuff where Todd is yelling at BoJack, and it's like, you can't keep blaming this shit on external forces. It's not your parents or your rough career. It's you. It's always been you. Fuck, man. What else is there? And that line is still I think my favorite read of the series is so powerful, and it works
because it's coming from Todd.
Yeah, that's what made it powerful.
He's so exasperated. He's like, what?
Yeah. And the thing is, if Todd just dropped fucks all over the place like we do, it wouldn't have worked.
No.
That's what I say. I really do envy the ability for them to be able, they swear a bunch, but by keeping one in the quiver, they can have it be impactful when they need it.
Right. And
I think there's a really strong lesson in that I would like young writers to take note of, that by just saving one word, you can then give it the impact that it deserves.
And those scenes in each of these 3 seasons is are scenes where he has reached a point of no return, where he cannot possibly salvage this relationship. He has forever fucked this relationship with Penny's mom and with Herb and with...
Hell, in that episode, that's also the episode where he kissed Diane. He almost fucked that up too.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I'm sad I'm going to drag everyone down with me. And that's the thing that Diane talks to him about. Is you bring out the worst in me. I've been doing a lot better since we've started hanging out less.
Yeah, that's her contention this season, is her trying to fix a relationship with her husband and trying to get out of BoJack's life for her own benefit. Yeah. But then at the end, she's still the only one who seems to care. about him. Like, she can't let go, despite what's good for her.
Yeah. Maybe part of it is that BoJack always seems that, like, he's not that far from being able to turn it around.
Yeah.
But he never can. He never will.
No.
But if you're the kind of person who wants to help other people, it feels like just a little push, and you could get this guy.
Yeah, that's
in the right direction.
That's Princess Carolyn's whole thing.
Yeah.
Like, she was begging him to take her back.
As an agent.
As an agent, as a friend, as whatever. Like, she needs to help him. She needs to do it. I mean, I was kind of happy that he was just clear on saying no. Like, I can't. Because he really shouldn't, and he really can't.
Yeah.
So standout episodes. First off,
let's talk about Fish Out of Water.
Fish Out of Water, yeah.
First, an anecdote. Our piece of shit father walks upstairs from his TV man cave dumpster to say, like, I just watched the underwater episode of BoJack and I fucking hated it. It was so hard to understand.
I hate all that interpretive bullshit. It better not fucking win an Emmy this year. It better not fucking win an Emmy. I hate that shit. Why couldn't they just talk? Why have to be all interpretive and garbage?
If I may psychoanalyze my father for just a moment, he is an extremely aggressively loud man, and I think it triggered like a deep-seated fear in him that he wouldn't be able to yell his way through his problems. But no, yeah, this is a episode with less than 3 minutes of audible dialogue. Basically, just the cold open.
Yeah.
And the
cold
end.
Opening and the very bit at the end.
Mm-hmm.
The whole time, BoJack is underwater at Pacific Ocean City, and because of the deep sea suit he has on, he can't speak, and the underwater language is just blubbles and glurbles. So he can't understand it. It has no resemblance to human language.
It's what Lost in Translation was trying to do, but probably didn't go all the way. And this we really felt isolated.
Yeah. Yeah. He couldn't even, like, it was all just angry gestures and inarticulate noise. So like it starts off like with the Hey Arnold episode. He gets on a bus. Before that, yeah.
He's at a film festival promoting his film because it's the only one he can enter in because every other film festival fucking hates his guts. And Kelsey's there, the director who was previously the director's secretariat before she got fired, doing that guerrilla shot that she wasn't authorized to do by the producer.
That BoJack insisted that they do.
Yeah. Well, she insisted that they do too.
Yeah. But the thing is that BoJack didn't get fired for it.
Yeah, exactly. And he's like, "Ah, shit."
He starts off as trying to avoid her and then trying to apologize, but he can't speak.
Right.
So he tries to, like, get a note to her, and then through hijinks, he gets stuck on a bus and falls asleep on the bus like that episode of Hey Arnold. So he's at the last stop, and and right before the last stop, a seahorse man gives birth to a bunch of seahorse babies. And one of the babies gets left behind, and the episode is him trying to return this baby to the dad.
Yeah.
And the seahorse thing is very apt because, especially in the way that this show draws them, and also because of the way they actually do look, it resembles a horse. And the man is, and BoJack has had some fatherhood issues that he's, dealt with. In his first psychedelic nightmare, the only good part is when he had that, like, idyllic fantasy with him and Charlotte and his kid.
Yeah.
And there's, he's been a father figure to people and fucked it up. That's the thing with Sarah Lynn.
Right.
So this is him, trying to protect this child that is not his, but that no one else is there to protect, and him with absolutely no means to do it. Both because he's a total fuck up and he can't, but more aptly in this situation, he can't communicate with anybody.
No.
He can't get food for the fucking thing, and he doesn't have their dumb money.
No, so he just steals the food.
They go through a
Which
taffy...
Mr. Peanut Butter, meanwhile, has become a spokesperson for.
Yeah, no, because that was a great joke on, like, when famous American actors used to go to Japan and do crazy commercials for money under the impetus that, like, no one will see this because it's all the way in Japan, but then the internet happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man. But he does help the baby. You know, he goes to pretty crazy lengths to help this baby. He misses the screening. He has some crazy hijinks in a taffy factory.
Which he destroys.
It was partly the baby's fault, as the baby was jumping all over the baby place.
I just got why it was taffy, because it's saltwater taffy.
I think the place was called Freshwater Taffy.
That's hysterical.
One thing I did think was kind of interesting, I've never seen this in an American-produced show, but they drew the little baby dicks.
Yeah!
Oh, yeah. I've only ever seen those in, like, manga.
Yeah,
or, like
Dragon,
Goku's little baby dick.
Yeah, unedited Dragon Ball. Goku and Gohan's little like, baby dicks.
Where it's, like, just two little, like, bloop, bloop.
It's just like a long half circle. It's just like a half oval.
Yeah. And then a wider half oval
for the sack.
Yeah. I thought that was kind of neat. Like, I've never seen somebody do that before.
Yeah, the only other time I've done it was in the Simpsons. I've seen it done was in the Simpsons movie, where there's this long sequence where Homer dares Bart to skateboard naked to the Krusty Burger, and this long sequence of him skateboarding, and the whole time his dick is conveniently covered by stuff he's passing by, and then right at the end you just see his little dick. And it's a goof, but like you do see Bart's dick.
Bart's dick is canon now.
And like the moment when he gets the kid back to the dad, and dad's like, "Oh, I guess I got 6 kids. All right." And there's this moment where BoJack is unsatisfied, and it's hard to tell exactly why. Like the thing that strikes me is like it feels like he expected to be rewarded.
Yeah,
that he's not really
expected to be recognized for what he did.
Yeah, that he can't just
do something good just because that's the right thing to do. I mean, the dad was going to invite him to dinner, was going to give him money, and but BoJack refused. He didn't want the money. He didn't want to sit down and eat dinner with the family. But he didn't know how to leave. And then when he tried to say goodbye, he couldn't even tell which one was the seahorse baby that he had a journey with. And the seahorse baby didn't say anything or recognize him at all.
Yeah. It's something that he wanted to be more profound, and it wasn't, because life doesn't work that way.
Yeah, he wanted it to mean something, to, like, be an important moment in the father's life, and the baby's life, and his life. But it was just a little adventure that happened that turned out okay. It wasn't, Tokyo Godfather's level of, like, everything's great.
Yeah.
Pacific Horsefather.
And then at the end, it realizes that if BoJack had pressed a button on the side of his suit, he would have been able to talk the whole time.
Though during the journey, he did find pretty good ways to apologize to Kelsey. He
was able to articulate it, but then when he handed her the piece of paper, the ink was smudged.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, oh no! And then some jackass was like, "Hey, get out of the way, man!" And then he realized he could use the.
Oh, you gotta be kidding me!
Back in the 90s. Yeah. And, okay. Brap Rap Pew Pew.
Yeah, that was going to be the other standout.
That was a hell of a ride.
Yeah, so Diane finds out that she's pregnant. And there's a conversation with her and Mr. Peanut Butter in the car.
Right after she has that hilarious drug experience.
Yeah.
Where she keeps referring it to, the drugs are telling me to do this.
That's a very real thing, honestly. It's like when it's such a new experience to you.
You're like, it's the drugs.
You're delineating what's new about your consciousness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone who's hung out with me knows, like, oh, he's doing this again. Oh, he keeps trying to explain it to me as if I'm not doing it right now.
Nikki, you've been slowly rolling yourself in a ball for the past, half hour.
Nikki, you haven't understood a single joke.
Nikki, we're not listening to the Korean Guilty Gear soundtrack again.
Oh, no.
I'm really the worst.
Oh, no.
But she finds out she's pregnant, and while they're in the car, when she's in the car with Mr. Peanut Butter, they're both dancing around the issue of the fact that they both want her to have an abortion. But they're dancing around it because you're kind of not supposed to say that. Mm-hmm. Despite the fact you don't want it, you don't want the kid.
Right. But thankfully they were both on the same page, so that was fine. The problem comes when Diane is, she's working as a social media coordinator for all these celebrities as part of Princess Carolyn's agency. And she's at BoJack's restaurant, and I don't remember who's talking to her. But
BoJack was giving her a hard time for being a little mopey, because he's a dick.
Yeah. BoJack was like, why aren't you more happy? Blah, 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 blah. And she's trying to balance between tweeting out this stuff and talking to him. And she just yells out, I'm having an abortion. And while she said that, she wrote it and tweeted it out as Sextina Aquafina, the teenage pop star that she was currently pretending to be for her Twitter account. So,
if that's a real gig, I want it.
It's gotta be a real gig.
It absolutely is.
Absolutely, positively.
Fuck, I need some hookups.
Like, if you follow your favorite celebrity and think they're the ones tweeting everything they tweet, it's probably not the case.
No, they've got a PR team.
Unless they're saying really stupid bullshit all the time, then you know it's real.
Yeah, unless it's just, like, completely vapid crap.
50 Cent's Twitter is absolutely real, let me assure you.
Yeah, oh my god. No, unless, either it's completely real, or the guy who he did pay to write that bit about
I'm
being...
making it.
What was that?
It's either completely real or I'm writing it.
Or like, either or is like the most amazing comic genius of a life to make as a joke 50 Cent complaining that his grandma asked him to take out the trash. I'm rich as shit. I don't need this.
Oh man.
So they do this whole thing about the knowledge of abortion, like the whole idea that like you can have it, and like people are the pro-choice movement is a lot of times very passive. It's like people don't want to hear about it. And the great bit on the Tom Jumbo Grumbo show, like, to talk about this issue, here's a diverse panelist of 3 white men in bow ties.
Yeah.
And it has just that little, strawberry on top of the bow ties to really make it land. Because if you see a man on TV with a bow tie who is not Bill Nye, he's a garbage man.
He's full of shit.
Oh boy. Yeah. And so, of course, Diane has to balance the fact that she's going through this very stressful process while also trying to make up some ridiculous-ass story to pretend that Sextina Aquafina is also going through an abortion, who she and Princess Carolyn are not really handling it with any sort of gravitas. They're really using it as a marketing scheme.
Yeah, she makes a song,
Rap, rap, pew, pew.
She talks about wanting to kill her, about wanting to shoot her fetus to death.
I hope my baby can feel pain, so when I shoot it in the face, it'll hurt. And it's like this ridiculous, like, Nicki Minaj-esque music video of just like...
Get that fetus! Kill that fetus! Get that fetus!
Kill the fetus. And of course,
yeah, like a Nicki Minaj, like, super shock value, tasteless music video that, like Princess Carolyn with her, school of feminism is like, this is horrible. Nothing being treated with any respect.
No, Diane.
Diane, that's what I meant.
Princess Carolyn's like, whatever, we gotta make this shit work.
Yeah, whereas, then she goes to the abortion clinic and she's talking to some terrified teenager who's like, it's funny. It makes being able to laugh about it makes me feel better about it.
Yeah, like, it's so outrageous, how can you take it seriously?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Whereas Diane was like, you're not handling this responsibly, you're not like...
Which I think that's a discussion that both sides of that argument have.
Oh yeah, totally. I don't think Diane
was the most
wasn't
interesting
wrong at
way
all.
to end that episode. Because I feel like both sides have legitimate points to that.
Yeah, and the thing is,
either way.
It's the two sides that matter, which are to say both elements of the pro-choice side.
Yeah,
because pro-life doesn't fucking matter.
No,
right? Because Sextina wasn't actually having an abortion, so she couldn't really understand what that would be like. She was just sort of putting herself in that place and saying, I'm going to be this icon for women who are having abortions. And
the whole dishonesty of it that she wasn't. And then at the end, they find out she was pregnant, and they're like, and she wants to keep it. It's like, okay, what's this media circus we're going to do? And the thing there is that, it really highlighted how extremely good Princess Carolyn actually is at her job. We don't get to see her excel.
Might be my favorite character.
Yeah, we don't get to see her excel that much because with BoJack as a client, she can't do anything right because BoJack will sabotage anything good that happens to him.
Yep.
That's what happened later. He had 3 opportunities, and they all fucked up because he couldn't just be cool for a second.
Well, I mean, she did also kind of fuck up because she was juggling way too much.
Yeah, I mean, that was the next episode, Old Acquaintance, which actually, it was very interesting because in the cold opening, it's Rutabaga and Vanessa Gecko from last season in their agency, like, we can pull this together if we really get out there and hustle. My wife's pregnant. If she goes into labor, I gotta bounce, but we can do this. It'll work out for us because we're the good guys. And you think it's like, I'm just setting them up to fail. And then, no, they come out on top. They get everything they want at the end. Yeah. And it shows that our protagonists are a bunch of shitheads and they're not the good guys. It's this really cool moral relativity that even if you are rooting for these dudes, and if the other guys seem like a bunch of scumbags, they're not actually, the only people who they're hurting are our characters who are being pricks about it every step of the way.
Yeah.
Like, Princess Carolyn was so fundamentally vindictive about the whole thing.
Yeah, like, she was like, I am gonna do this, I'm on top of the game.
I'm gonna get my failing...
Before we totally move away from brap brap pew pew, I did...
Can you guys please stop making gun noises? It's freaking me out.
I did really like how the ending where they do film that whole, the abortion on pay-per-view. And Diane was like, that was actually really educational. and then Diane and Princess Carolyn had this heart-to-heart where, Diane is this young, sexually fertile woman who does not want a family, but has the very ample opportunity to have one. Whereas Princess Carolyn is, she turned 40 last season. She's getting older. She doesn't have a stable relationship. Her job eats up most of her life, yet she wants a family. And there was sort of that contention between, like, what these 2 women who are different places in their life, who want very different things, and how they feel about this very specific personal issue. But they end up supporting each other in the end.
Yeah, that's the thing.
They kind of fight about it at first, but then at the end, Princess Carolyn's like, you don't have to explain anything.
Yeah, basically what they're like is, like, get some more empathy, get a wider point of view. Because, like, there was a couple points where I'm like, is Diane having this kid? Is she going to change her mind? And she doesn't, which I think is good because it's within her character.
It
wouldn't make sense for her to want the kid, and it would be so gross if anybody guilted her into having the kid.
Exactly.
Like, that was not Carolyn's intent either.
She was just jealous.
Yeah, she's jealous that she had that opportunity. Neither the character nor the show wanted to shame her or make her seem like a bad person for wanting to do it.
No.
But the show is like, it's a complicated goddamn subject.
Right. But you don't have to justify your decision because it's yours. And it was the same thing with Sextina Aquafina. She's like, I think I want to keep it. And they're like, yeah, sure, cool, whatever. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
We'll make it work. We'll go through crazy hair schemes to make it work.
Yeah. And meanwhile, George Clooners was trying to do pranks and BoJack learns that Anna Spanakopita is playing all the sides and like that. I mean, it's an interesting arc. I just don't feel like it has to take up that much time on this show.
Right. How you doing, Tooch? I feel like we haven't let you talk much.
Oh, I mean, yeah, y'all were on a roll. And,
okay. Do you want to talk about an episode next?
I mean, I slammed jammed it in a couple days too, and like you guys, like we were saying earlier, the show does kind of just like bleed into each episode. So I'm honestly having trouble like differentiating individual.
Is there a joke or a particular moment
or a
that
guest
you
character
liked a lot?
I liked that they brought back the sign jokes for the bat bot mitzvah. And other shit. I missed. I don't remember the rest of them though, but I think there were a couple more sign jokes. They didn't go as hard.
They didn't. And they also, I don't even know if they said Hollywood out loud.
They did.
It was very little. Like they were not. I feel like they were maybe making a concerted effort to not rely on running jokes.
Yeah.
Outside of like an inner season running joke, and even then there was way fewer.
Yeah.
My favorite guest star, Weird Al Yankovic as Captain Peanut Butter.
I expected you to bring that. I guess so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. What the fuck, man?
Weird Al Weird Al always guest stars in the coolest shit that you never expect him to be in, but then at this point, I expect him to be where I don't expect him.
Does anybody not respect him?
No,
is there anybody out there who?
Him.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, but everybody likes him.
Yeah, and I mean, part of that is because he's a very likable
Everyone
guy.
in entertainment loves that
But
guy.
also, he makes a concerted effort to not piss anybody off.
Yeah, like
that's his whole thing. Like,
ever since his beef, I guess, with Coolio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which on Al's side was a miscommunication.
Yeah,
Right.
totally. That was studios being assholes.
Yeah. And it happened the same thing with James Blunt to a much lesser extent.
Yeah.
Like, to go briefly into Weird Al Yankovic's style, like, from a legal perspective, he can just make whatever song he wants and pay royalties to the person who originally wrote it. But he has a policy of always asking for permission.
Yeah. And
because he doesn't want to make...
Because he's Weird Al and has been working in this industry longer than anybody he's parodying currently, they always say yes. It's like, oh, you want to parody my song? That's like, yes, please.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he played Mr. Peanut Butter's older brother, Captain
By 5 minutes. Even though he looks like 10 years older.
Yeah.
Well, that's a big difference in dog years.
That's true.
Like, just the Mr. Peanut Butter and the Peanut Butter family as a whole.
I like that means his first name is Mr.
Yeah. I just, like, those are the aminal jokes that work the most for me, is that he's a man with all the idiosyncrasies of a dog.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think we've seen his bed before, but it's a circle bed. It's a dog bed that's just big.
People are like, sit. Sit.
This grown adult married woman sleeps in a dog bed every night with her husband.
Yeah, and like when she was dating when he was dating Jessica Biel, was like, maybe you should go hang out with Justin Timberlake and enjoy all the things you can't enjoy with me, like chocolate or fireworks or dogs on the TV.
And then when he had an entire B plot where he got skunked. Oh, I'm gonna shake. Don't shake, Mr. Peanut Butter. Oh, I really gotta.
Yeah, and like that was really the only time that he and Todd. I mean, there was a whole abracadabra, but this is the whole time they went on something completely harebrained.
Yeah.
Man, and then just the freaking, like, I guess he's a Labrador, like that whole like
Labrador Peninsula.
Yeah, the Labrador Peninsula. That sounds like that's where I want to go when I die. Like,
yeah,
like it's just dog world.
It's like it's all suburbs. The whole
like,
world is like a nice suburb, and it's all dogs.
They both
playing
just
in
start
the lawn,
playfully, like violently but playfully wrestling in the airport. No one but Diana is like this. Like, no, this is fine. That's what they do. Oh, they're brothers. They must be.
Yeah.
Like everything is designed for dogs, and it's beautiful and wondrul. And like, you know, Mr. Peanut Butter has his little bit of heaviness in that episode because he's worried about his bro.
Yeah,
and like his inability to just connect to his brother on any kind of, you know.
Like,
yeah,
he has
like
that,
that's
like he has that moment where he blows up a Diane, and he's like, you know, just because your family is a fucking hot mess doesn't mean that everyone's family secretly hates each other or has problems. And she's like,
because it touched a nerve because it's like, you know, he's like he comes from that cliche idyllic family where nobody talks about their problems, so that means that nobody has them.
And he said that in previous seasons. He's like, you know, he's had moments of where he's like, yeah, life is meaningless, whatever, let's have fun.
I mean, part of the thing with Peanut Butter, and this is part of one of the greatest jokes with him, is that amazing opportunities fall into his lap all the time because he was being a hapless dimwit that day.
Yep.
I mean, his like running gag this season is that
the most ridiculous payoff for a season-long joke.
The weirdest Chekhov's gun. Like, he buys a bunch of spaghetti strainers as part of a business idea that his accountant made as a sarcastic joke that he immediately forgets what it was. But the whole time we see his house, it's just full of spaghetti strainers. And then in the last episode, character actress Margot Martindale crashes BoJack's boat into a boat bringing spaghetti. And all
imported Italian spaghetti for the new restaurant.
Yeah, and it pours into the ocean, and like an oil spill, it's a national disaster because spaghetti's expanding.
No, it's BoJack's fault because he wanted that "You Are Secretariat" advertisement, so that the blimp was mirroring off the sun and boiling the spaghetti.
God.
And so it's boiling and expanding spaghetti, which is going to choke the city unless the only contingency in which we could save it is if someone had access to millions of spaghetti strainers and a bunch of cars and extremely fast swimmers. So, and because Cadabra had completely undid its original goal, all of the drivers were now sex workers. They're all the orca sex workers from Whale World. So there we go. It worked together, and then
and they also had reason to want to save the city because they're native to
so
ocean.
Mr. Peanut Butter, due to a bunch of stupid coincidences that all happen to him because he's a dumbass, he gets to be this international hero, and he's offered an opportunity to run for governor of California, which is going to be his plot next season.
That's gonna be great. I will vote for him.
Meanwhile, Diane's plot for next season, she lost her job with Princess Carolyn because she was really bad at it, but that's fine. Instead, she got a new job, which she made through Princess Carolyn's new boyfriend, working for like a Mary Sue type kind of blog, a feminist blog that blogs about important stuff, but also just fun stuff.
Or maybe Jezebel, because it seems like it's going to be bad.
I mean, look, they do. There's a lot of stuff on Mary Sue other than just, was Game of Thrones problematic this week? Yes, it was. Anyway.
I feel like a lot of the writers on Mary Sue just kind of blog about old shows they're catching up on.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like half of them, like one of them is rewatching like old Sailor Moon. I'm like, wow, you'll never be not having a story to write this week.
But she asked her this question, and she's like, I'm asking you if you would be able to write about anyone, call anybody out, including your husband. Like, I know you love him, and he loves you, and I'm sure it's all great. But if we ask you to call him out and write about him, will you be able to do it? And she's like hesitant at first, and then she brings up Cadabra and like how problematic of a thing that was. And she's like, and now that he's going to be running for governor...
shit, I didn't put those two pieces together. Heck.
And at first Diane was like, oh, well, I don't know. If I have a problem with something my husband's doing, I'm going to talk to him personally because he's my husband. I'm not going to talk about it on the internet. And the mouse girl kind of corners her, and she gets the job. So presumably she says, yes, she can do that. Or she weasels her way into a position where she might be forced to do that.
That sounds like amazing television. Can BoJack just, like, die, but the show keeps going?
Well, that's the thing. What happens? At the very end, his house is a wreck. Todd's gone. Carolyn's gone. Everyone's gone, except for Diane for some reason. She still cares about him. And then he just drives his new car that he won when he thought he was nominated for an Oscar, and it turned out that he wasn't nominated for an Oscar, out into the middle of nowhere, and then he finds this pack of...
Well, he almost kills himself.
Well, he almost kills himself in the worst way possible by, trying to drive into incoming traffic, which is dangerous and stupid and hurts other people who have no business wanting to get in a car accident that day. And then he finds this pack of wild horse runner man, and he's like, yeah. And it's like, great, BoJack, you found another
thing that you're gonna...
that you can...
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like... But the only good thing about it is that it's completely removed from the Hollywood system. He wants to belong, because that's what he always wants, but at least it's something outside of that poison, toxic world that he's occupied for most of his life.
Yeah, I for real just want him to not come back until towards the end of next season.
Me too. I think I just want him to kind of be out there and do that wherever that takes him, and then what'll happen to Princess Carolyn's new found direction as a manager instead of an agent. And what about her cool new boyfriend?
Yeah, I love her boyfriend.
Ralph, played by Raul Esparza, who I don't know.
What a good mouse.
Yeah. He had my single favorite joke. He's like, what's wrong? Is this about when I ordered that glass of milk? Because if you give me a cookie...
Yeah. I just he's just charming.
He just feels real. Like,
he's just a nice man.
He just feels like he's just like flirts like a real human being. He doesn't have any baggage. He's just kind of like, this lady's cool. Let's hang out. Let's have a good time.
I'm jealous of Princess Carolyn.
I mean, she might fuck it up. That's the thing.
Oh, she will. She did. She went back to the job that made their relationship impossible. That's gonna happen.
Yeah. Another new character that I really, really liked was Judah.
Yeah, voiced by Diedrich Bader.
Yeah.
He
had a couple bit parts in the season too, because I can recognize his voice. But that was his main one.
I was like, where in the world did she find this amazing man to work for her?
Yeah, I like him.
He's a saint.
I don't think they made this joke regarding him, but like in the 2007 one, after the BoJack Horseman show bombs, I'm sure glad I'm not that guy, says creator of Cavemen.
Yeah.
I forgot about Caveman. I forgot that was the thing that happened.
I wish I could forget. It was so awful. I can't.
They tried to make a television show based off the Geico Caveman commercial.
It was bad. Because it was like the entire joke was that it was like a racism allegory, so it was handled in the worst way possible.
God.
Yikes.
Yucks.
Fuck 2007.
I really liked in that episode that took place entirely in the restaurant, the critic. Like the whole time they're worried about this critic, and then it turns out she's some bullshit Tumblr writer.
Yeah.
Get out.
Well, you're going to hear this on my blog, ValerieEats.tumblr.com.
I love her voice. She's like...
That was also Alison Brie. Alison Brie gets to do an extra voice each season. She was Samantha this year, Samantha the Earthworm critic, and then last... Man, I wish we could have just gotten Vincent Adultman just once.
Oh,
that's another reason why it's not as funny anymore, because Vincent is the best character the series has ever seen.
Yeah.
Everything about Vincent is top to bottom so impossibly good.
Yep.
There's layers upon layers to the joke of Vincent Adultman, and they just had nothing that could touch that this season. I don't dislike the season by any standards, but it's not as good as last season.
Yeah, no. Well, because now it's gotten to the point where like it's like an ongoing series, so like at least in terms of how I compartmentalize TV shows, once it gets this long, I stop really giving a fuck about like season to season. I'm like, it's still a good show.
Yeah.
And the last kind of big thing that happened that I want to talk about was Todd's sort of resolution of this character.
Oh yeah.
Revelation.
Emphasis on sort of, I feel like. That didn't go as far as I wanted it to.
No, it didn't. But it was definitely a revelation of, a group that's not oft represented. And that we pretty much found out that Todd is some kind of asexual.
Yeah, here's the thing, though. All they called him was nothing. Which is kind of worse. I was a little bit ticked off at that, honestly. Like, that was going to be a good
Yes, I do agree that it is problematic the way that he phrased it, but I understood why he phrased it the way that he phrased it, because he didn't really understand.
Yeah, it's the same kind of language that we used when we were talking about, a lot of the more questionable choices of language in Wandering Son. The character themselves does not know the lingo. He was just in the moment kind of understanding that he is asexual, that he doesn't, it's a novel concept to him. He hadn't heard about it. No. And again, because the representation...
he lives with BoJack, who's fucking literally everyone, and you're in this sex-filled society, and her question to him was, are you gay? The idea of not just having sexual attraction at all wasn't even the first question. Was like, no, if you don't want to have sex with me, it must mean you have to want to have sex with someone. And he's like, I don't know. That was his phrase. I don't know if I'm gay. I don't think I'm straight. I don't know what I am.
Yeah, I'll see if they do anything with it next season. Because my own thing is yes, obviously Todd wouldn't know, but I'm like, is anybody gonna? Does she know? Why wouldn't she know? Why wouldn't she bring that up?
Not everybody knows.
Someone on the show needs to, or it's bullshit.
Diane probably knows.
Diane would. Diane
would know, and she would tell him. But,
And then BoJack would be like, that's not a thing!
Exactly. But what I like about it is that, he said that, and it seemed very much like him admitting to something that he was afraid to say out loud, and he didn't want to admit to himself, and she was just like, that's okay. And then they laughed about how he gave an $8 million tip to the waitress.
I love that joke, but, like, I wish I didn't get my hopes up that the next season... Like, because, like, everybody was establishing what their plots for next season were going to be. And, like, I was really looking forward to Todd having money next season and seeing how he'd fuck it up over the course of next season. But
I mean, that was the joke they were making when he got cut the check. It's like, let's see how this changes up the dynamics going forward.
I should have known.
But now he has this person that he wants to be with. This really good friend that's good for him. As opposed to a friend that's bad for him. And she still has her money. I don't know, Todd is just like the best human being. He's too good for all of these people.
The most relatable emotion in the series is Kelsey's affection for Todd.
Yeah, I loved that. I forgot all about it. And then she's just like, hey, how's your friend doing? Huh? Still getting his hijinks and his shenanigans? Still up to his little tricks?
Like, I love that guy. Tell him I love him.
She loves him the same way that, like, you love, like, your pet dog.
Yeah, and that's how I love him. Like, Todd, I love you. You're a precious baby boy, and you can do no wrong. Even when you fuck up, I love you. And it's okay.
You can't be mad at Todd. You can never not be mad at BoJack.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm always...
I mean, I'm not mad at BoJack. I'm just like,
At this point, I'm mad at BoJack.
I don't know. That's what I was saying in the beginning. I don't know why I can't muster up the feeling of being mad, but I think it's just because I live with a bunch of difficult people in my life.
All right. Okay, we're doing this now? No, we do have to talk about this. Nina put her mouth in a glass so she doesn't have to make any noise.
So yeah, I look.
Here's the thing, though, is that she could very easily say, "Oh, not you, one of the other many difficult people I live with," because she's got her pick.
Yeah,
I do. I will confirm that it's not one person; it's multiple people,
of which you are included, Nikki. Get your face out of there.
No, this is where I live now.
Let me reassure you that did register on the microphone that her mouth is in the glass.
Anyway, are you done?
I think we're done with BoJack for right now. I mean, we're almost certainly going to talk about next season. It's already picked up for next season before the season even aired, which is, I think, dangerous. I'm happy it happened, but I think it's a dangerous mentality, but whatever.
That's just how television works, you know. Whatever happens, happens.